Hey there everyone, this is Christian from Blue vs. Orange TCG coming back to you with another deck profile, and this one I'm really excited to. This is a character that I think a lot of people have been really anxious to see. Maybe some people have been pretty disappointed with the Wave 3 counterpart and Major SoundWave, but today I'm bringing you the Blaster vs. SoundWave version of SoundWave here from San Diego Comic-Con, and you know what? This guy is absolutely crazy. This is going to be a little bit different than from the usual videos. Usually I have a tournament report to bring you along with the deck profile, but this time it's just the deck profile, and because this is going to be a little bit special, right? So if you didn't already know, Orange vs. Blue TCG is a partner channel. So I am partnered with my brother, Matthew, who we went to a local tournament yesterday during the time this is filmed. I brought SoundWave, he brought his Blaster deck after reconstructing it from the structure deck, and we're going to actually talk about the tournament report and how we felt the decks did in a separate video. So I'm going to be doing a deck profile solely on SoundWave today, and then he's going to be doing a deck profile solely on Blaster sometime in the future. And then after that, we're going to be doing our tournament report and just overall thoughts on the decks in general. And I'm really excited to talk to you about these decks, because you know what? I don't know, I haven't played SoundWave at all, but let me tell you, SoundWave, or Blaster, I haven't played Blaster at all, but SoundWave, he is super fun, and he can get kind of nutty in terms of field control, and just all the healing that he can do is something that I was not expecting Wizards of the Coast to put into a character team so soon. So with that, I'm excited to bring you this deck profile, and let's just jump straight into it with the big beast himself, SoundWave. So if you didn't already know what SoundWave does, so starting in his alt mode, he is the original boombox here, right? From G1. Actually, no one's really seen his G1 boombox until now, because this has been art that needed to be drawn, but that's okay. So in his alt mode, he is 0 attack, 15 health, and 2 defense. He's a leader and specialist subclass. So you're maybe thinking, wow, that's really weak. Why is he 0 attack? Well, let me explain to you. First of all, he's a boombox. He can't do any attacking. So think of that first, right? Second, his effect is where he gets really strong. So obviously, SoundWave wouldn't be anything without his cassettes. So when you start your game with cassettes and SoundWave, the cassettes go underneath him, like so, like Metroplex does. But I'd say even better than Metroplex, because for each starting cassette underneath SoundWave on your starting team, your starting star limit increases by 1 for each cassette. So for example, the Destructor deck for SoundWave comes with 3 cassettes, each 5 stars each, SoundWave being 10 stars. So if you played all 4 of those characters, you'd be up 25 stars, so that'd be the max. But because you're starting with 3 cassettes under SoundWave at the beginning of the game, you can technically have 3 more stars. So you can run a 28 star team at that point. So you can slap in 3 star cards along with those 25 star characters, which is really crazy in my opinion. Being able to just expand your starting character limit, I think, is such a sweet effect, and you're going to be seeing why that's super cool here in a little bit. Because in his bot mode, when you flip to this mode, you get to deploy a mini cassette from under him to the battlefield in bot mode. So that's something to keep in mind when these come out, or if you are getting your San Diego Comic-Con versions like me in the mail. When you deploy a cassette from SoundWave, they start in bot mode. They do not start in alt mode. They start straight away in their bot mode. And the best part about SoundWave is when you do deploy a cassette from him, it has to be when you deploy a cassette, you look at your opponent's hand, choose a card from it, and your opponent puts that card on top of their deck. Now that is an extremely saucy ability. That is basically Mirage on steroids in my opinion. Because if you go first, if you've ever played against Sentinels, their first turn flip is always going to be Mirage to try to snatch out an action from your hand. SoundWave will do the same thing. You're always going to flip SoundWave first on your first turn, and you can immediately just put anything you want from your opponent's hand on top of their deck. And that's especially nasty against orange decks, not so much against blue decks, because you're going to be putting a blue more than likely from their hand on top of the deck. We're going to be seeing that anyway, right? So this can be an action, an upgrade, any colored pip. It can be anything. So if you right away see a card in your opponent's hand that's going to be a super trump card later on in the game, or even on their very first turn being able to play an action or an upgrade, you can just say goodbye and just get rid of it right away. So that's what makes SoundWave super incredible, is he can constantly do this as long as he can deploy cassettes, right? Speaking of cassettes, let's get into those cassettes, shall we? So the cassettes I'm running two. We'll go over the first one here, Buzzsaw. So Buzzsaw, each of the cassettes start with 0 attack, 9 health, and 1 defense in their alt mode side. Here, I'll just bring them up a little bit closer for you to see here. And they all have stealth. Not stealth when untapped, not stealth when tapped, stealth all the time in the cassette modes. And when you flip to this mode, you may move a weapon from one of your characters to another. So it's basically a flip version of Quartermaster, and that's going to get really good when I explain his bot mode ability. So Buzzsaw in bot mode is a ranged mini cassette, 3 attack, 1 defense. And when this attacks, you may play a blue weapon from your hand onto any character, right? So what makes that super amazing is, so say if you have a Energon Axe or an armor that you really want to play on SoundWave, but you still want to put a laser cutlass on Buzzsaw, you can put an armor on SoundWave, swing into Buzzsaw, and still play the laser cutlass on him. So you're being able to upgrade twice in a turn is super nice with that. And not only that, if you flip Buzzsaw, being able to move that laser cutlass or any other weapon that you're running onto another character is super good, and it gets really nutty really quickly when you play this. So that's the first cassette. Second cassette is Ravage. So Ravage being, since they all get deployed in bot mode, I'll talk about the bot mode here first. Should have done that with Buzzsaw, but whatever. When Ravage attacks, he has Pierce 2 all the time. And then for each character that has 10 stars or more, that character gets Tough 1. So he doesn't come with Tough 1 in, innate, which would be absolutely nutty if he did. But he does give SoundWave Tough 1 when he's in the bot mode. So that is extra defense for SoundWave. And this, I'm going to tell you this now, this is a blue deck, but it focuses a lot on Pierce. And so having that Pierce 2 on him is really nice as well. And when you flip to Ravage to his cassette mode, again, he has stealth in his cassette mode. And when you flip to this mode, you can give one of your characters Pierce 2. So being able to give Buzzsaw or SoundWave Pierce 2 is just really nice as well. So we only play 2 cassettes with my SoundWave build, at least here. So if you did the math, that gives us 2 extra stars on this. Let me see if I can do the math here. 10, 15, 20, right? So we can run 7 more stars, effectively giving us a 27-star team. And I figure what better 7-star character to pair with these guys than Raider Aimless himself. So I'm sure many of you already know what Raider Aimless does. But just in case if you don't, he's a 3 attack, 8 health, 0 defense Battle Master that has Tough 3. So he is huge. He gets really big really quickly. And he tends just to soak up damage a lot. And then when he finally dies, he turns into the Manifold Ion Particle Blaster. Which is when the upgraded character attacks and you flip at least 3 blue icons, do 3 damage to the defender, as well as a static plus 3 damage to any attack. That is incredibly good. Incredible. And what makes this even better in SoundWave is if you pair this with Buzzsaw. Say if you put this on SoundWave, and you swing into SoundWave already, and you already used up your Particle Blast for the turn. Well, if you have another character, you can flip Buzzsaw, right? Move that, move any weapon to another character, and you can move it onto Buzzsaw, you know, even though it only has 0 attack, to try to get that 3 damage to a defender. That's not bad. Or even better, if you have Ravage already on the field, you can move this onto Ravage and swing into someone else again with the Manifold Ion Particle Blaster, and it just gets really silly really quickly. It allows you to get in so much more usage and value out of the Aimless and Battlemaster weapons, and it's just something that I don't think one can even distract of when you're playing against this deck. Overall, I think Aimless is a fantastic character teammate with Soundwave. But that's all for the characters I'm running. Let's go into the battle deck now. So first thing first, oops, sorry, I hit the camera there, my goodness. First things first, we got 3 actions. Recover Cassette. So if you don't know what this card does, this card comes as a 3-of, oops, sorry, as a 3-of in both the Blaster and Soundwave decks. And if you have Blaster or Soundwave on the battlefield, You may put one of your mini cassettes from the battlefield back underneath SoundWave or Blaster, and if you do, repair 2 damage from one of your other characters. And then you KO this battle card. So this is the first instance of a battle card having to be KO'd and not sent back into the scrap pile to be reshuffled. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because when you return a cassette back underneath SoundWave, it doesn't matter how much damage that cassette has, as long as they're still living by at least 1, and you play Recover Cassette, that cassette heals all of the damage. That can be up to an 8 heal right there if they're at 1 health left. And not only that, you get to put you can recover 2 more damage off of a character. So recovering off a SoundWave or your other cassette, that can be a huge, huge game changer right there. Just playing one of these and being able to play 3, that gets really annoying and almost like demotivating for your opponent, knowing that all the damage you put into the cassettes or SoundWave can get healed off in an instant is something that can be pretty demoralizing to play against. But we do play 3 of those. And of course, this is the obligatory blue deck. We do play the 3 security checkpoint. Double blues are always nice. And being able to scrap any type of upgrade from your opponent's hand is also really nice. So of course, we're going to play 3 of those. And then onto our secret actions. Of course, we're playing the 3 battlefield report. Pretty much a staple in any blue deck nowadays. Being able to, on defend, draw 2 and put 1 on top of the deck. Just stacking for defense or finding answers that you're looking for. Like, say, a Recover Cassette, because, you know, you really want to find those whenever you can. We also play 1 Infiltrate and 1 Hiding Spot. So Infiltrate is just starting to become also a staple card in most Decepticon blue decks, just because Press the Advantage hurts so flippin' badly against any Decepticon deck still. Infiltrate helps this. I main deck 1, I side deck 2. I think maining 1 is really, really good still. For the first round match against Autobots or any orange deck. But if you're playing against blue, you may only see it once. You can slide it out in the second game, and it's an easy side, right? Hiding Spot is also really good, especially because we're playing Aimless, our Battlemaster. So if we swing with Aimless and then swing with another character and set Hiding Spot, we can force them to attack into Aimless next turn, which can be really good for us because maybe that'll KO Aimless, so we can get that Manifold Ion Particle Blaster on another character. Or it'll just force your opponent to use up a lot of resources unknowingly because they may think it's a battlefield report or an infiltrate. So loading up on the grenade launcher to kill Soundwave or another cassette can be foiled by using that Hiding Spot, and I think it's a fantastic card. And it's a black pipe card, so you know it never hurts to have. And of course, this is a Pierce based deck, so we are running the 3 the bigger they are. Being able to slap plus 2 damage onto a character is really nice on its own, but if that character is lower stars than who you're attacking, it gets Pierce 4. All your cassettes are 5 stars and below, or are 5 stars characters. You're going to see a lot of characters above 5 stars when you're battling with this, so this is going to help a lot add up Pierce really, really quickly. And then we do play 2 Steady Shot. I'm trying this out right now. I'm not too sure about it, but I do like the idea of having a couple black pips on the attack flip. And just having that extra +2 isn't too bad at all when you're swinging with Soundwave, who only has a mediocre 4 attack anyway. So any boost we can give to Soundwave for extra damage is not going to be looked upon frowningly, in my opinion. Alright, next up we do play 2 Work Overtime. I do find when I play this deck, the hand size, or your hand seems to get depleted pretty quickly if you're playing multiple upgrades a turn with Buzzsaw and all the other things that can happen in the deck. And we don't play a whole lot of draw, if you can tell already. We mostly run the battlefield reports and this for our draw power. This card does come in a lot of handy though. It's an extra white. We do want to run a fair amount of whites here just so we can have the highest chance of triggering the Particle Blaster on attacks, right? Which I just want to say, I'm surprised by how much this effect triggers even when you're not flipping whites and only flipping 2 battle cards. It's kind of insane. But Work Overtime helps with that because it's a white, and just getting more cards in hand is never something to look down at. And then our last 4 actions we play, we do play mostly 1-ofs. So first 1-off is a Vaporize. It's the 1 upgrade hate that we play in the deck, or second I guess. It's not too bad. I'm considering putting in a Smelt alongside this, but for now I only have the room for a Vaporize. 1 shall stand, 1 shall fall, only 1 copy. I really, really wanted to play a second copy in this, especially once you see my side deck character. But I find that I only can really fit one in this, and I'm already running 41 cards in this battle deck. I'd love to bring it down to 40, but I do think the one-shot stand is really, really nice in this because it combos so well off of Aimless. One Quartermaster, again, being able to bring back Aimless from the KO pile is really, really good as a weapon. But also, it also pairs really nicely with Buzzsaw's effect to move weapons around. You can move a weapon from Buzzsaw onto another character. Next turn, play Quartermaster, move that back onto another character to gain a lot of mileage out of a single weapon. Which kind of goes along with SoundWave's effect of just having all this weird field control that he can play on yourself and your opponents. Being able to move weapons around and get more use out of them, taking cards out of the hand. It's all about what SoundWave does, and it's really, really cool. And our last action is, of course, Callous Leadership. With SoundWave being a Decepticon leader, playing this as a one-of is no-brainer. Especially being able to combo this off with Recovered Cassette, moving 5 damage off of SoundWave onto a cassette, then using Recover Cassette to heal all that damage off of the cassette and heal 2 more off of SoundWave can be a heal 7 just off SoundWave alone. Not even counting all the other counter or damage counters on the cassettes. That is just a really, really nutty combo. It doesn't happen very often though, but when it does happen, oh man, it is so nice. And you know what? It just makes it worth playing this deck just to try that alone. Because it's probably the closest thing we're going to get to a healing deck in a long time. So those are all the actions I play. I play 22 actions in this. And then I've run, I believe, 19 weapons in here. So let's get on to it. Or 19 upgrades, I should say. So moving on to the weapons. Again, this is a pretty Pierce heavy build. So we're running 2 Scoundrel's Blasters. Ravage really likes having a Scoundrel's Blaster on him when facing against Autobots, since that gives him Pierce 4, 5 attack Pierce 4. It's also a blue weapon to pair off with Buzzsaw. We do play a lot of blue weapons, just so you know. And just having that +2 attack is never a bad thing to have. Next weapon we play is a 2 of Energon Axe. Energon Axe is like a staple in blue decks now, being able to pump up your attack to +3, as well as having that Pierce 2. That Pierce 2 probably comes in more handy than anything else. But again, it's an extra blue weapon to play off of Buzzsaw, and we're going to see it played a whole lot in this deck. Trust me. Alright, and of course we will play the 2 Laser Cutlass, and this time I'm teching in a Piercing Blaster. So here's my theory on this. I was originally going to play 3 Laser Cutlass, but then I realized SoundWave. SoundWave cannot put on the the Laser Cutlass because he's 10 stars or higher, right? And this only works for 7 stars or lower characters, which the Cassettes and Aimless fall into very nicely. So they really like Laser Cutlass. But I also think that having that Piercing Blaster, not only for the white to help trigger the Manifold Ion Particle Blaster, but also just to have a decent Pierce weapon to give Soundwave Pierce 3, is something that I think this deck really kind of needs to have. I'm almost considering bumping this up to 2 of, just because I do really, really like the Piercing Blaster in this. Because Soundwave's only 4 attack, right? So he's really not going to be doing a whole lot of damage aside from Pierce. So putting a Piercing Blaster on him for at least the 3 damage guaranteed is really, really nice. So I think this is definitely a decent setup in terms of Cutlass to Piercing Blaster ratio. Might even bump the Piercing Blaster up to 2 just because I like it so much, like I said. And then we do run 2 Armed Hovercraft. Aimless and Buzzsaw are both ranged, and being able to move around Armed Hovercrafts with Buzzsaw's effect and Quartermaster is something every person dreams of when running Armed Hovercraft, and when it does happen, it's super saucy. And putting 2 damage onto every character on your opponent's board is nothing to laugh about. It can add up really, really quickly, especially if you can't stop them flipping and reusing the Armed Hovercrafts. And then our last weapon is, of course, the obligatory Triple Handheld Blaster. It's the double blue pip card since Wave 1. You're always going to see it played in blue pip decks, and it's just going to stick around, even though it doesn't do anything else otherwise. If you're going to have to play the Handheld Blaster on Buzzsaw for his swing attack, you're in a pretty bad position. So those are all the weapons. Moving on to the armors. I'm trying out an armor I've never played before. We're trying out extra padding. So my theory with extra padding is it's okay, right? I've always seen extra padding as this card that it uses up so much room up in your hand that it's hard to warrant playing, right? But I'm trying it out, and I'm actually liking it so far. I definitely will think it's a little cloggy, but you don't have to play that, right? Having 2 extra padding is still really, really good. Slapping 2 extra padding, say, onto SoundWave is something that I think is still decent, because if your opponent bashing shields you, it only gets rid of 1 extra padding, so you're still at tough 1. And if you have Ravage on the field, you're at tough 2 even, so that's still not bad. And just having that glory moment of slapping on the 3 extra paddings does happen way more often than you think. But there is actually a fair amount of utility in these, because you can play like 2 on SoundWave and 1 on the cassette, since the cassettes do get targeted really frequently with attacks, so toughing them up isn't bad either. This is the first card I think would be to go if I would consider moving cards around, possibly for reinforced plating just for extra tough on upgrades. But right now I'm actually liking extra padding. I'm going to stick it around. And then we do play the 1 sparring gear. Just having that green armor like extra padding is really, really nice. It's becoming kind of a staple again. I may consider bumping this up to 2 and taking out an extra padding or something. But for now, I think 1 is just decent with sparring gear. And then, of course, his buddy for orange armor's Bash and Shield is in this deck. I don't think... I haven't seen a whole lot of play using Bash and Shield in this deck, since you're really focusing on Pierce more than anything. Force fields and tough armors don't really matter a whole lot to you. The +1 defense is nice, but having that utility or just that option in your tool belt of knowing, hey, if there is an armor I really don't want to see, maybe like the Ultra Magnus armor, I can Bash and Shield it off if I need to. So it's still going to stick around. And then our very last card that we play in the main deck is Security Console. Not much to say about this card. It's another draw outlet for SoundWave or anything else you choose to put it on. It can help plan out handheld blasters, security checkpoints onto your hand, onto the deck when defending. And it's a white, so it helps with Particle Blaster. What's not to love about it? So that is the main deck. We do play 41 cards. Now onto the side deck, which I'm really excited to talk to you about. Our side deck character is Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend, so I'm sure this not only shocks and probably disgusts you in many levels, as it did me when I realized this, but you can easily side in Battlefield Legend in this deck. And the reason for this is you can take out SoundWave, and then in his place you have Raider Aimless, which is not a bad partner for Prime at all, and then you have a 5-star character, which is one of these cassettes, right? And you can have the choice between either of these cassettes when you're siding in. So you have multiple options for your 5-star character. I often use Ravage just because having that inability tough 2 or Pierce 2 is really, really good. And he gives Optimus Prime tough 1 because Optimus Prime is a 10-star or higher character. And not only that, when you begin the game with the cassettes, they start off in stealth this time because they're not underneath SoundWave. So being able to force your opponent to either attack into Prime or Raider Aimless is super, super disgusting, which I think is a little bit nicer than the original 3-eyed Prime build, where they can just, if they go first, they can force the attack into Flame War, which would hold this spot instead and take a lot of damage right off the bat. It forces them to attack into Prime, which obviously, if you couldn't tell, he's pretty beefy already, so he's not going to be taking a whole lot of damage turn 1. And I think it's just a decent little bit of a start-off play. But at the same time, it's kind of like a little bit of a janky 3-eyed Prime build you can side into. And the sideboard really reflects that as well. Because we pretty much base it all around. It's kind of my idea of smoke screening from Yu-Gi-Oh! If you've ever played anything like that, where you side into one deck when you're siding, and side into another. So our sideboard is 1 Ion Blaster of Optimus Prime, because obvious, we're playing Optimus Prime in the sideboard. Excuse me. And then because we're playing more ranged characters, and our main character is ranged of being Optimus Prime, we do play Reflex Circuits. I really like the Trick Armors. They're grabbable with that green pip card, and they can be a static +2 if fighting against a melee character. These are easily sided out for extra paddings because the Reflex Circuits really take their place really well. To Infiltrate, this is against the orange decks. Being able to flip Optimus Prime and then set a Infiltrate on your flip is really, really nasty, because even though they see it coming, it forces them to not play certain actions on their turn. My goodness, excuse me. and force them to play kind of weirdly in that way. 2 marksmanship because it's a Optimus Prime staple. Being able to flip it, being a ranged character is really, really nice. Same thing with 2 plasma bursts. We really want to up that indirect damage that we're playing because we're playing Optimus Prime. And then we are playing 1 disarm. This is more of a meta call than anything. I have a really upgrade heavy meta where I live, where this can see a lot of play. But this can easily be swapped out for like a second 1 shall stand and 1 shall fall, or anything you really want to play this as. So that is SoundWave, my take on the SoundWave from SoundWave versus Blaster. I hope you really, really enjoyed this because I think this deck has quite a bit of potential. I don't have a lot of data on this deck, like I said. Me and Matt did play a tournament at it, which I will get into in the tournament report. I'm running a little bit high on time right now already. But I think this is a decent build of Soundwave right away. There's definitely a whole lot of theory crafting that can go into this character, because when I was building him, there's so many different ways you can kind of build around. I set mine build more heavily around the field control, with moving weapons around and swapping it to Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend, more so than say like hand control, which was my original theory on the deck. But anyway, this is the deck profile. Let me know in the comment section if you have any like tips for this deck. I know not a lot of people have gotten a chance to play it yet, but let me know what how you guys want to build Soundwave. Excuse me. When you get your hands on him, because I can guarantee you, I think a lot of people are going to be playing this guy when he comes out in retail, if that's their only chance to get him. And I think it's just going to be a whole lot of fun to be had, because holy buckets, this guy is a fun character. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all have a fantastic day. And of course, adios.